is a political analyst and, of course, a development expert in the person of Jide Ojo. It's good to have you join us on the program this morning. Queen and I are saying good morning to you.
Good morning, Ramsey. Good morning, Queen. It's a pleasure to be on your show this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Jide. It's a pleasure to have you.
Same here.
All right, so let's go into the conversation proper right now. As a matter of fact, Inec again. You know, when Nigerians hear about Inec, so many things come to the mind. You know, after the elections in Edo State, what Inec said is that they've learned their lessons and everything in Ondo State was going to go smoothly. It didn't go the way they said it. And now again, they are saying they want to tackle vote buying. And one of the issues, as far as electioneering is concerned in Nigeria, is vote buying, which constitutes an unfair election. What do you think about INEC's statement?
Well, INEC is on point to want to fight or to tackle the incidence of vote buying. It had been a menace from the time of First Republic, when people put money in bread to buy votes, and it has been with us all through from First to Second Republic to Third Republic. If you go back in time, part of the reason why the June 12, 1993 presidential election was because of political corruption, vote buying of delegates and at the polls. And so it's been with us for a very, very long time. And that is why INEC now is soliciting the assistance and support of multiple stakeholders like the anti-corruption agencies to help it to curb this menace. Unfortunately, it has refused, and it has proven to be a stubborn state that has not been removed by any bleach. I was in Edo during the last governorship election. I observed the election in Benin, and I know that there were reported cases of vote buying. In Ondo, it was widely reported as well. But do you blame INEC for vote buying? The answer is no. INEC can do the much it can, but INEC has no power to make arrests, neither does they have power to investigate. The only power that the law has given to INEC is prosecutorial power, which means after the police and anti-corruption agencies may have made their arrest and investigated, they will pass on the case file to INEC for prosecution. And that's why INEC itself has said this is unwieldy, and it's not something that it wants to continue to take on as a responsibility, which is why over the years, INEC has been in support of having an electoral offences commission and tribunal established, which will divest it of this issue of having to tackle the menace of vote buying. There are two clear sections of the Electoral Act 2022 that forbid vote buying. I think Section 121 and Section 127, if my memory serves me right. But despite the fact that the law has criminalized vote buying and indeed voter inducement, we know that this has been an ugly phenomenon and has become very intractable in our political landscape. The last election, there were reported cases that during the Ondo governorship election, there were reported cases of party agents paying as much as 20,000 naira for a vote. Some are paying less, some are paying about that sum. But I think for us to really deal with the phenomenon of vote buying, you need to look at the root cause. In a country where there is rising cost of living, where many of those who have gone to school have no job and have no means of survival, any amount, as little as it may be, will be a welcome gift. So I've been involved in voter education over the years for more than 2 decades. But despite that, we have embarked on massive voter education, public outreaches, and all of that. People will tell you, look, you are just speaking English. We have to survive. Water must find its level. Some of these politicians, once we vote for them and they get into office, they don't remember us. So this is an opportunity for us to have something from them. And the phenomenon of vote buying does not even start at the polls. Recall that I was at the Inec headquarters last week, Thursday, when it hosted meeting of civil society with the commission. And what the Inec chairman did say was that this menace of vote buying starts from the party primaries. And Ramsey and Queen, you were alive and in this country when, ahead of 2023, some delegates who converged in Abuja to elect their presidential candidate, some of them became overnight millionaires. There are those who claim that they were paid in dollars. There are those who claim that they got millions from the prospective aspirants for the position of the president while they were vying for presidential tickets, particularly of the dominant parties. And here I'm talking of APC and PDP. This was very well reported. If you do a Google check, you will see how people allege that the presidential aspirants under the PDP and APC actually induced the delegates, and some of them became over 9 million. In fact, there was a delegate that came from Kaduna who had to go back and give part of what he got in Abuja to his constituents to make them happy. So the issue of vote buying is not just an election day event. It's something that starts right from when the parties are having their primaries and through to the time of campaigns and then on the election day. And you ask, what is the implication of this? It is very grave. It is grave because political corruption is festered by this act of vote buying. A candidate who buys his way into office would never be interested in any developmental agenda. The primary purpose will be for him to recoup his investment. And I must say, Ramsey and Queen, that Section 88 of the Electoral Act 2022 have pegged the ceiling of expenditure for candidates from the presidential candidates to the councillorship candidate. And from 1 billion naira in the 2010 Electoral Act, we now have the expenditure ceiling put at 5 billion for presidential candidate. Then that of governorship has now been put at 1 billion. And then senator, I think 80, senator is about 100 million. And then the House of Reps, 50 million down the line. Now, you ask yourself, if somebody will spend 5 billion to become president of Nigeria, and he does not, he's not a businessman, he's not known to have done any serious business in his life, how does he intend to raise that money? That was the story of former President Muhammadu Buhari, who in 2015 said the 27.5 million naira ceiling that was put for that APC charged for nomination fee, he couldn't afford it and had to take a bank overdraft to be able to buy the nomination form. Now, somebody that could not buy a nomination form of 27.5 million, how did he bankroll his election when the amount as at then was 1 billion? It then means that some party stalwarts put down the resources for him to contest. And those who put down this money are not running a charity organization. When he became president, they have to be settled. Some of them became ministers, some became government contractors, but nothing, there is no free lunch in Freetown. So that is the deleterious part of vote buying. That when you go for the broke, you go borrow money from banks, you borrow money from godfathers, or a godfather bankrolls your election in the name of just winning at all costs. Definitely, those who bankroll your election are going to make a demand on you for favors, and you will not that object or reject their proposal, because they will remind you how much they contributed to your political campaigns. So these are part of the reasons why it is important for the political class to abide by the provision of the law, but not so deaf as those who will not hear. Many of them knows this. They know that the law has forbidden act of political corruption or vote buying, but they still go ahead to do it because they know that if they win, their party will give them cover and that they will never get prosecuted. Of course, it's always the hirelings, the agents that get caught. I recall that during the Ondo governorship election, one of the agents was arrested by DSS with about 2 bags full of currencies, which he meant to be used for vote buying. But since that time, nobody has had anything. The identity of the guy was not even revealed. They just say he's an agent. We saw how the DSS forced him to open his car boot, and the 2 sack full of money was retrieved, and it was whisked away. I bet you if that guy is working for the ruling party, it will have been released quietly, because the law also permits the Attorney General of the state or Attorney General of the Federation to file what is called nolle prosecute, to say that the state is no longer interested in prosecuting a particular offender. And this is why the culture of impunity reigns in terms of vote buying.
Very much. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, many thanks for your contribution so far. But INEC has had a history, like of implementing measures to ensure that there's no vote buying during elections, but the result has been varied. But this time around, what do you think that INEC can do to correct this, looking at the 1-month notice that has been given to prevent vote buying in Anambra?
There's nothing that INEC can do that it has not done. It has solicited the support of the anti-corruption agencies, and they have pledged their support to the agency. But what you need to understand, Queen, is that this vote buying are done nicodemously. They are done covertly. They are usually not done in the open. The one I experienced some time ago, around 2018 in Ekiti State, what they were doing is that you vote and they will give you a tally, and then you go and collect your money far outside of the precinct of the polling booth. In some other cases, people are asked to write down their names and their account numbers, and the money is transferred to them later. Now, how do you now prove that the money that was transferred was meant to buy votes? Because you have to establish a nexus between somebody putting down his name and account details, and then a certain amount of money being wired to that account. So those who are engaging in vote buying are also being very creative. And that's why I said INEC is helpless in this. Because as I pointed out earlier, INEC is at a receiving end, is more concerned about organizing credible elections. When poll officials get to their polling station They don't start searching people's pocket to know whether they have money on them or not. The law does not even permit them to do that. So they concentrate on conduct of elections. So the actual vote buying is done covertly and many a time done outside of the precinct of the polling booth or polling stations. So how then do you want INEC to go after those who are engaging in vote buying? And in any event, I told you that vote buying starts from party primaries. At the party primaries, INEC is not the one that conduct party primaries. It is done by the political parties themselves. And the so-called vote buying that takes place at the party primaries are done outside of the convention ground, outside of the places where the Congress or the party primaries will hold. We have heard stories of delegates being bussed in and lodged in an hotel, and then they are settled within the hotel premises before they are bussed to the venue of the party primary. So how then do you, how does INEC feature in that? INEC is only asked to be invited, and that INEC should be given 21 days notice of invitation. And INEC's home in that party primary is just to go and observe and document in a report what they observe. So INEC is really strong in this fight against vote buying. But it's just that the commission doesn't want to stand akimbo and say, well, what can I do? That's why he is soliciting the support of the police authorities, the ICPCs of this world, the EFCCs of this world, and other anti-corruption agencies, that they should help with the combating the menace. But it's
question now, because as it is right now, it's like INEC have done what they can do based on what you have said. But constitutionally, is there punishment for vote buying constitutionally now? Because one is to establish the fact that the votes were really bought. Then the second question, because I'm asking two questions in one because of our time, the second question is this: what effort, apart from collaborating with the security agencies, the anti-graft agencies and all that, what about sensitizing the people and INEC's relationship with the people, the electorate? Do you think if they have a good relationship, issues like that can be reported to INEC, but then do we have that relationship between INEC and the electorate?
The answer is yes. Let me start from whether there are punishments for vote buying. There are a plethora of punishments. Like I said, if you go to section 121 and 127 of the Electoral Act 2022, you see copious provisions for vote buying. And in fact, I can tell you for free that the punishment is 500,000 naira fine or 12 months imprisonment or both. Do you get that? 500,000 naira fine or 12 months imprisonment or both. So if you have a copy of the Electoral Act, go to section 121, between 121 and 123, then section 127. You see the copious provision against vote buying, voter inducement, and all of that. So the answer is, even if you arrest these people, you have to prove. He who alleges must prove, and it's a criminal offense. So he who alleges must prove, and to prove becomes a equivalent. Let me give you an illustration, Ramsey. When anti-corruption agencies or police arrest people for any electoral offenses, whether it's vote buying or any other thing, usually the person who is the IPO, investigating police officer, or those who made the arrest may not be from that state where the arrest is made. They are deployed. So after the election, they document and then they go back to their station. When these cases are charged to court, you must lead evidence. There must be witnesses willing to come forward to say, yes, he tried to induce me, he tried to bribe me, and I took or I didn't take. But situations where the IPO had already gone or been transferred out of the state, how do you get him to come to court, to come and stand as witness, or to come and stand by the exhibit, or to lay to be cross-examined? So this is why in many instances those who were caught for either electoral offenses or vote buying usually get away, because there are usually nobody coming forward to testify that they actually were engaged in those acts of illegality. But aside from that, even if you press ahead and you say you want to prosecute, who will fund the logistics of the witnesses in the event that the witnesses are no longer in that state? Who will pay for their transport, their lodging, and their feeding? And our court system, the judge will say the sitting will be next Thursday. You get there on Thursday, they say, oh, they have gone for judges conference, or the judge is not feeling well, so has asked that a new date be determined. And then the worst part of it, Ramsey and Queen, is that unlike election petition, the electoral offenses generally does not have time limit. It's only election petition that have time limit of 6 months at the court of first instance, that's at the tribunal, then 60 days at the court of appeal, and 60 days at the Supreme Court. That's if it is a governorship election petition. But if it's presidential election petition, it starts from the court of appeal, where 180 days is the maximum days you spend, and then 60 days at the Supreme Court. If it is other layers of election, that's like senatorial, House of Reps, State House of Assembly, it starts from the tribunal, election tribunal, 180 days, then ends at the court of appeal, 60 days. But unlike this kind of election petition that has time limits and which is cast in stone, for electoral offenses, it can go ad infinitum. It could even take 10 years to do. So it also became situations where the prosecutor will become weary, no funding for witnesses to appear, and in some instances, the witnesses can be bought off or can be scared off, because we have seen witnesses who come forward and said that they were threatened by those who they want to testify against or their families, and so they have to back off. And in the final analysis, when there are no witnesses, no exhibit, the court will say lack of diligent prosecution and strike out the case. Or in some cases, the court will just...
Incidentally, thank you, Mr. Jideojo. That's how much we can take for today. Our time is up, but we definitely hope that we would have you join us again, and we would also have ample time free of technicality so that we can discuss some of these pressing issues. Thank you for your time with us today.
It's my pleasure, Queen and Ramsey. Happy Valentine's Day.
And happy Valentine's Day. So do have a nice day ahead.
And you too. Keep safe.
Well, this is where we draw the curtains on Global Morning here today. It's been an interesting ride, from the newspaper review down to our topical discussions of national interest. And we will be seeing you again next time, myself and the rest of the Global Morning crew. For now, don't forget to follow us across all social media platforms using @Global TV NG, and other handles now showing on your screen. Odi will be here to bring you sport update by 10. from myself, Queen Agaba, and my colleague, Ramsey.
Well, Queen, if you want to talk about INEC, it's not something you can finish in a day, because this is a powerhouse when election is coming on. All right, well, unfortunately, this is where time can take us, how far time can take us.
Have a nice day ahead.
Bye-bye.